All right, you tell me, you're rolling?
Yep, I'm rolling.
All right, I'm starting off.
There you go.
Michael,
Boyd.
what's happened in the last 10 years, mate?
Well, I met you.
What a journey.
It's been a great ride, right? 10 years ago.
I'll never forget meeting in LAX, wasn't
I
it?
picked you up. You were dropping off your rent-a-car.
Yeah. I just taught a
you up.
clinic in California.
Yeah, that's right. I picked you up in a little convertible. And
We had breakfast or lunch somewhere.
Yeah, we went to a hotel near the airport.
Oh.
And I'll never forget. You're so tall, you were sitting in this little convertible, you were looking over the windscreen. Wind blowing into your face. So yeah, we had lunch, we talked, I had a bag of prototypes, and you dissected them. You're like, oh, what about this, what about that?
Well, to be honest, mate, I think you're the first person that understood my frustrations and concerns and struggles with leg protection. You know, obviously I'd been eventing in Australia for a couple of decades and freshly moved to America. And I mean, I'd tried every different brand of boot, and I just had this never-ending nightmare of boot rubs and injured legs. And then somehow we got together, and I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, the wonderful thing I think from you, which is your background, which is obviously you're a horse lover, but you've got a way more sort of sporting or high quality equipment background than your normal Joe Blow that makes a boot for a horse.
Well, that's what was one of the reasons we even decided to try to make boots for horses, because we felt comfortable that if we could make high quality sports shoes, running shoes, basketball shoes, cross training shoes. When I say cross training, I'm dating myself. If you can make that for NFL, NBA athletes, then constructing a good, solid, protective boot for a horse should be within reach. And the idea was to bring the skills, the construction, the materials, most importantly, the materials that we used for human athletes, to bring them to our horse athlete partners. And, you know, I've worked with NBA players, I've worked with NFL players, and horses are better athletes by far. No offense, but horses are just better athletes. So, and it was a challenge, you know, the big animal on a tiny cannon bone.
Yeah.
And to protect it, you know, I mean, your input and what you did, that one, I think it was like a 2.5 hour lunch. And you went over the product with me like nobody else. And we went back to the drawing board on a lot of it, cut them open, changed a lot of it, brought it back to you again.
Yeah.
And, moved on from there. And that's 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I feel like thinking back to those early days, I feel like every year you're developing it, and I feel like every couple of months it's a better version or a new idea or a latest idea. And I mean, what if you could talk a bit about sort of the latest model of? To me as a consumer, I see the boot with the Velcro straps and then understanding sort of what's actually inside of that, and the layers and the protection and the quality and like this is the hard thing from a person like myself that's buying equipment for horses. You go to a tack shop and there's a boot hanging up there and a boot hanging up there, and on the outside they look pretty much the same, you know, and it's hard to know which one's better.
Well, that's a fact. You walk into any tack shop and you have multiple variations of the theme. The idea is to protect the cannon bone and protect the tendon. So, one could start with a polo wrap and get some results.
Right.
But as the sport has gotten faster and more competitive, and the jumps have gotten harder and bigger, and the courses have gotten more sophisticated, we're putting more and more pressure on the horse.
Sure.
And that pressure inevitably will cause maybe a little knock here, a little rub there, and you have to be able to protect the horse. When we started, the first round of the boots that we went over together, and made together, they were a 3-layer boot. So I was just over the moon to be able to get everything that you wanted in the box.
Sure.
You wanted it to be lightweight. You wanted it not to take moisture. You wanted it to protect. You wanted it to be antimicrobial, antibacterial, because I remember talking about how neoprene starts to stink after about...
And heat up.
And heat up.
Yeah.
That stink happens to be bacteria actually living in there, like a whole family of them. So, and then, of course, the heat, because it's an insulator.
Yeah.
Neoprene was made for deep sea diving. Horses don't scuba. So that was a 3-layer boot.
Yeah.
We were so proud of the construction, and it worked beautifully for a few years.
Long time, yeah.
And then, as you said, we did an update. We went to 4 layers. So the first iteration was what touches the horse, what faces the elements, and what's in the middle. The next iteration we added because we talked about, you and I talked in detail about, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big knock. Mm-hmm. Even a moderate knock, the horse will continue and finish the course.
Sure.
And the next day, the horse is walking funny. It's nursing the front. And why? Because there's some soft tissue bruising. And so we added that 4th layer inside of dilatant foam that changes molecular structure and pushes the force sideways instead of through. So that was the next iteration, which now we've had for about 4 years now.
Wow.
And now today, we tried the next iteration this morning. We were fitting it with Stephanie on the horses. And that's a 5-layer boot.
5 layers.
So we just keep adding layers. But this 5th layer is crucial because what we've created is we put a slide on the outside of the front and the hind boot. So we have the beautiful 4 layers that we've always had now, and we added a 5th layer on the outside, which we call it a slide.
Right.
So it's a injection molded semi-soft guard that wraps around the front, and it is designed so that if there's any brushing against the big fence, it just helps the horse slide over.
Oh, well.
So, and reduces any further soft tissue bruising. Right. So we've layered it again with dilatant foam under it. It's just a superb product. And I was over the moon how it fit this morning. Yeah. You made suggestions. Stephanie made some suggestions. We're going to go back and do some tinkering. And then I'm guessing you might be using them in a couple of months.
Yeah. What sort of, obviously, the testing, the proof is in the pudding, testing-wise, how do you go about seeing how strong or like how can you tell how much protection you have? Like say a hind foot whacks into the front tendon. Like how do you go about?
How do you go about that? So here's what we did. We did some video motion study of the horses at gallop and canter. Walk trot, we didn't spend that much time on it because the impact at walk trot and overreach is not as much. Right. Although a trot overreach can injure. So we did a video motion study, speed. So some of it is math. So forward movement of any object combined with its weight creates inertia. Right. So a Mini Cooper at 30 miles an hour can hit a barrier and stop dead. A 1-ton truck, let's say a Ram 2500, at the same speed can hit the same barrier and travel another 300 yards. Right. Because of the inertia that it has. Sure. So it's not just the speed, the inertia. Mm-hmm. It's very important. And so that hind leg coming forward, depending on the speed, can create a hit, a impact, and it's measured in newtons. So just like good old Isaac Newton with the apple and all of that, So it's measured in the unit they measure it in is newtons. So the leg comes forward and it can create somewhere between 15 to 30 newtons of power, that impact. 30 is at gallop. It could be even maybe a little bit more. So there's a mathematical formula. So we took that formula and we said, how much of it can we reduce without creating because the boot at the end of the day has to work for the horse. It can't be ultra heavy. It can't be ultra, So we have to find what we call a Goldilocks zone. Not too hard, not too soft. Right. So we're looking for that Goldilocks to reduce that impact. The Goldilocks zone, we found it to be to reduce it from anywhere between 25 to 30, bring it down to about 8 to 9.
Right.
I mean, you'd like to bring it down to 0, but at Gallup, and that's not possible.
Yeah, sure.
So what we did then was we did some tests. There's a company that this is what they do. They've got equipment that just measures impact. That's their job.
Right.
And they report that back to companies. And we found this company. We started using them. We send them product. They measure the impact in newtons. They come back and they say, well, this transferred this much energy. This one transferred less. This one transferred even less. So the less energy that goes through, the less likely that the horse is going to get injured.
Yeah, right.
So you're stopping that energy, transfer of energy. So we then started layering materials in various softnesses and hardnesses and various structures to reduce that impact, and while keeping it lightweight, breathable, all the good things that we need. So it was a long process of experimenting with materials, how to inject, how to change shapes. We did borrow from the Samurai, so our internal guard I always joke about this. I say it's a 2,000-year technology because it's identical to the Samurai armor that they used to make from bamboo to protect their limbs.
Oh, wow.
In terms of its shape, but it's an injected piece, of course. But we did borrow from the Samurai that internal guard that we have. We call it the flexi guard. It can't ever crack.
Yeah.
You can move it in any way you want, but
Can't
once
get through
it's
it.
formed around the tendon, it's impenetrable. So it's a long process.
Pretty cool.
Long process.
I mean, what we're seeing too in eventing now is a lot of water jumps. Like at Kentucky last year, there's 4 water jumps. And often there's a water jump in the first couple minutes of the cross country course, and I'm blown away when we untack the horse to cool him down how light the boots are.
Yeah.
They're damp, but they're not.
Yep.
Because a lot of the other boots I use, once they get wet, they start sagging down.
They get heavy.
And then they're around the horse's ankle at the end of the course. And
they get heavy.
And like the Magic boots, they seem to stay in place, and they, for some reason, how did you get it where they don't?
Well, knock on wood.
Hold the water.
It's all about the materials. So we select every piece that goes into our boots with the intention that it cannot absorb more than a certain percentage of liquid, whether that liquid being a water hazard, a jump, or being sweat. Because sweat's heavy, sweat's liquid.
Right, sure.
And eventually it gets heavy. So the biggest factor coming from the footwear industry, I knew that injection molded thermoplastic urethane, TPU, which is a fancy way of saying really good plastic, right? I knew that would never absorb any moisture. Mm-hmm. So we were safe there.
Yep.
So we knew that the outer shell, the part that meets the elements, that piece we were good. That's not going to do anything. I knew that Velcro, if it's not high quality, can start to absorb some moisture. So we had to make sure, our mandate to our manufacturers were that this is the Velcro you use, this is where you buy it from, this is the spec.
Sure.
And so we know what, going into cake that we're baking here. We know we're controlling the ingredients. Probably the most important piece was the foam. The foam that touches the horse.
Right.
That foam is I would say it's 70% of what makes the boot as effective as it does. It is lightweight. It is breathable. It is a magnificent piece of engineering because it's a closed cell foam that acts like an open cell foam, and it's too much to talk about.
But is that the reason why my horses aren't getting rubbed anymore?
They don't get rubbed because
they
of
don't
that
get
foam.
boot rubs.
That foam was developed to go directly on human skin.
Huh.
It's the highest quality foam you can get. It is medical quality. It's medical level.
Wow.
So it was designed to go on directly on human skin, and it was designed for very high-end running shoes, and also for medical use. And we use it. It's much more expensive than other foams.
Sure.
It costs per square feet. It costs about 4 times what neoprene costs, but we can't spare money when it's going on a horse's leg. You got to, it's not about how many pennies you're going to save.
Sure.
It's about giving the horse the best possible equipment. And that foam will not absorb moisture. And because it won't absorb moisture, it won't harbor bacteria. It's also treated, when it's being made, it's treated not to ever culture bacteria, and it's hypoallergenic. Many horses are allergic to neoprene. Some show it, like really show it.
Right.
Their coat can fall out. I've seen it.
Jeez.
But some are allergic, mildly allergic. They become uncomfortable, but you don't see it much. But they are still allergic. That foam is hypoallergenic. Same foam that we use on our girths. So all that foam touching the horse's belly, hypoallergenic, antimicrobial, will not get wet. I go from horse to horse to horse. I can go between 4 horses, 5 horses with one girth. 10 minutes in between.
Yeah.
And it's good to go.
Yeah.
So back to the boots. Yeah, that's why it doesn't get heavy when you go through the water.
Yeah.
And it won't start to spin because it's not getting heavy and holds on.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm absolutely blown away by the technology, and to have an expert like you coming in from the sports world and developing equipment for the horses. I mean, it's been a game changer for my career, and very, very glad I met you at Los Angeles Airport 10 years ago, and very, very proud to be an athlete representative of Magic Keep, and it turned into a great friend, and I feel like you're going with the company and the boots and the technology and the development's going from strength to strength to strength, and you're leading the pack. So
it's a two-way street. Without your input, without your support, without your enthusiasm and what you do out there, we wouldn't be where we are. So we love working with you, and we're proud of it. We're super proud of it. Call you a athlete partner, call you a friend.
Yeah. Well, the feeling's mutual, mate.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.